Hey guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to Femhead. So today we're going to talk about my journey with baby sleep for the first 6 months, my experience and talk you through it, things I would change, tips I have looking back and all of that. Theo slept in our room until just shy of the 6-month mark. As a newborn, an itty bitty newborn, like that first month, Theo would just sleep anywhere. I don't know if you guys remember, like I was usually filming and he was sleeping right on the couch next to me. The beginning of life, they literally just sleep all the time. They sleep, they wake up to eat, they go back to sleep. And I know not every baby is like that, but that's kind of like the newborn phase. They just sleep so much. And then it gets to the point where they're like up more. And you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And I need to try to put him back to sleep. Like, how do I get him back to sleep? Because before he would just conk back out when he was eating. He would nap down here and he would sleep in the bassinet next to our bed at night. But he didn't like his bassinet. He always started in his bassinet, but there were nights where I kid you not, let me get my boppy pillow because it's down here. This is against all recommendations, but this is me being honest with you. There were several nights early on, especially if we were like traveling with him, because I was so just anxious in the hotels about him screaming. I would take, the boppy pillow. It would be around my center. I would be leaned back and he would be sleeping right here, and I would have the boppy pillow to prop up my arms so he couldn't roll off. I tried getting him used to his bassinet by bringing the entire bassinet. It wouldn't fit through doorways, so you'd have to like collapse it. Bringing his bassinet down to the living room, putting it right in this little nook over here between couches, trying to get him used to napping in that, because he would nap just fine next to me on the couch, but he would not nap in his bassinet. And at one point I just brought the bassinet mattress down and put that on the couch to try to trick him into like learning to like his bassinet. I was pulling out all the stops. I swaddled him. I tried putting one arm out, both arms out. His arms swaddled right here. I could not figure out how to get him swaddled. You hear all sorts of people like, my baby hates being swaddled. They want their arms out. Like he would sleep like this, but then like at night, if his arms were out, he would wake himself up. And so I knew his arms needed to be in, but he hated his arms being in. And I feel like that was 1 month in. I didn't know what to do. Like I could not get him to sleep. I had tried like all different sorts of swaddling him in, swaddling out arms, like here, there, and everywhere. And I couldn't get that figured out to where he was sleeping and not waking himself up. Then taking care of babies came into my life, and that has been the best money spent. I'm going to talk about her quite a bit in today's video because that's just one thing. Anytime anyone's like pregnant or has a new baby, I'm always like, taking care of babies, look her up. Even if you don't want to spend the money on her courses, her Instagram, her blog are all just like a wealth of knowledge. And if you can give sleep to new parents, that's like the best gift you can give them. Those have just been game changers for us, and I want to share that with everyone else. I took her newborn course, and she teaches you in there how, not like how to swaddle your baby, but how to like, swaddle them, get them nice and snug and safe, and then soothe them to where they're happy and sleeping in their swaddle, and then they won't wake themselves up when they have the startle reflux. At like the 5-week mark, they can do 1 5-hour stretch between feeds in a 24-hour period. It's a guideline, so it's like not every baby's gonna do this, and Theo definitely didn't do this. Like at 12 weeks, he wasn't doing a 12-hour stretch. He only learned how to do that at 6 months, which I'll get into. The idea is they're capable of that 5 weeks from, I think, their due date. So if they're preemie, obviously you need to keep waking them up every 2 to 3 hours to feed them. At that point, I had read, Baby Wise, Cherish the First 6 Weeks. I'd taken Kara's course, and I was like, okay, we're gonna start working on stretching that long stretch of sleep from 10 p.m. on, just like 10-15 minutes at a time each night, longer and longer and longer. And so what I would do is, so when he would start like rustling around to wake up at that 3-hour mark, and I'm like, no, I would get on my exercise ball, I would put my boppy around my waist, I would lay his swaddled little body right here, and I would sit there and I would just like gently bounce him and keep him calm and try to get him 10 more minutes, try to get him 15 more minutes, try to stretch him out. And sometimes he woke up way before he was supposed to like wake up, and so it was much longer than like 10 or 15 minutes. Instead of like pacing, our bedroom, walking and bouncing him. He liked to bounce. He wasn't really a rocking baby at that time. He is now, but rocking just didn't do it for him. It was bouncing, and your legs get so tired. Like, I don't know how I don't just have like beefy rock hard legs and arms from all the just like the bouncing I have done with this child. So the exercise ball was a great thing because he just loved to be bounced. One thing that helped me early on was looking at his schedule. When you come from home from the hospital, you're in this just like days of confusion. Why did someone send me home with a baby? I don't know what I'm doing. That first week, those first couple weeks, those first couple months, depending on your baby and you, like, you're just treading water. You're trying to keep your head above water. But one thing that really helped me was looking at his schedule. And granted, like, newborns don't have a schedule, whatever, but they kind of do. I have tracked everything in an app. The one I have is called Glow Baby. When you're exhausted, sometimes it's hard to remember when the last time you fed them. Mom brain is such a real thing. And looking at his schedule, when and where he was like eating and sleeping, was really helpful for me. It took away a lot of the anxiety of, is this a good time to leave the house? Because when is he gonna need to eat next? And when does he need to go to sleep next? And what if we leave him with our parents? And I just had a lot of anxiety around all of that. So actually looking at me, I'm like, no, okay, yeah, he is eating every 2 to 3 hours during the day, and he cluster feeds at night. Maybe going out at night isn't the best time, and this part of the day is the best time to go and do something. Actually looking that there was some method to the madness that was having a newborn baby was really helpful for me. One of the biggest things you can do for yourself is to learn about awake windows or wake windows for your baby for their age. How long are they supposed to be awake? Because a 6-week-old baby and a 6-month-old baby shouldn't be awake in between naps for the same length of time. Okay, he's gonna sit here and play with blocks right now, and we're gonna try to finish this video. Another thing I focused on from pretty early on was trying to differentiate between daytime and nighttime for him. Thankfully, he never got his days and nights flipped. You hear about that all the time where babies just sleep all day and are up all night, and I was not gonna have any of that. So I wanted to make sure I was doing what I could. So during the day, I would make sure plenty of natural light was coming in, that we were going outside and going for walks, we were playing. I was talking to him, I was interacting with him, I was playing with him, and like, this is the fun time to be awake. And during nighttime, it was dark or very, very dim lights, either no talking or very quiet, hushed voices, not a lot of interaction with him. Like, it was business. I'm changing your diaper, I'm feeding you, and you're going back to bed. Nighttime was just business, and daytime was like the fun, bright, fresh, you know, exciting time to be awake. Right, buddy? Gotta play with blocks during the daytime, don't we? Don't ever, 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 ever compare your baby to any other baby. I would look at the happiest baby Instagram, and they're the people that make the snoo, and I would be like, this month-old baby is, look at all this sleep they're doing. Or this like 2-month-old baby sleeping through the night, and you're like, why can't that be my baby? Why can't I have the $1,000 bassinet that they're gonna use for 6 months? People swear by the snoo, don't get me wrong, like, I think it's a great thing, but not everyone can afford that. I did what I could to set up good sleep habits from the beginning. I'm not perfect. Slept with him on her chest, someone who pulled him into bed next to her. Like, I did all the things you're not supposed to do. You can have a baby that sleeps well and still make all these mistakes or whatever. Like, you don't have to be perfect from the beginning. Moving out of the newborn first 3-month stage and into months like 3 and 4, this is where things get interesting. So after all of my hard work stretching that first chunk of sleep at the night from the 10 p.m. mark, and he was like almost sleeping through the night. Like, he would wake up somewhere between like 4 and 6 a.m. and that was, I was so happy with it. Like, people would be like, oh, is he sleeping through the night yet? I'm like, no, he wakes up once, but he goes right back to sleep. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. It was in a really good place around 3 months, and I honestly thought that he would be sleeping through the night by 4 months, and he might have, but then he got sick. He got a stomach bug. He's a little guy as it is. He's like the 2nd and 3rd percentile. Like, he's healthy, he's fine. Someone has to be the, you know, the 1st percentile baby. But because he was small and he got a stomach bug and he couldn't keep anything down, he was getting really dehydrated and, you know, all that stuff that goes along with just being sick. And it's a lot trickier when they're like itty bitty babies. So it put us in the hospital for a night. The plan going forward from that, after talking to a nutritionist and our pediatrician, was we had to start waking him up again at that 1 a.m. mark. The nutritionist wanted 8 feeds of 4 ounces every 3 hours. She wanted him eating 32 ounces to catch back up weight-wise. And so I had to start waking him up at that 1 a.m. mark, which was like, obviously the health of your baby is more important than your sleep, but I was like, I just thought of like all the hours and all the nights I had spent like getting him to sleep longer. and now I had to just like throw it all out the window and like light a match and burn it. And then the 4-month sleep regression hit, and like all hell broke loose. Like, not really, I know a lot of people have it a lot worse, but going from almost sleeping through the night to your baby being up every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like whenever they wanted to wake up, no rhyme and reason, not because they were hungry or anything, and not wanting to go back to sleep on their own. To go from feeling like you had a really good sleeper to a very bad sleeper was a very hard thing. And this is the point in which I would pull him into bed with us out of desperation. I just needed more sleep. I didn't have the energy or the like brain capacity to sit there and like rock him and shush him and bounce him and try to get him back to sleep. Buddy, you can't hang over the edge of the couch, little daredevil. So yeah, I did the thing you're not supposed to do, and I pulled him into bed with me. He would always start his nights in his bassinet, but by the end of like month 5, like right before we sleep trained him, by the morning, he was always in bed with me because he's not in a pretty place sleep-wise. Months 3 and 4 and 5, we'll say, were probably the hardest part of our sleep journey so far. So let's move on to the 5-6 month mark, kind of where we're at now. I've always tried to give him a chance to fall asleep on his own and putting himself back to sleep if he woke up. Essentially what I'm saying is don't pounce on your baby every time they make a noise or rustle around in their sleep. Because like, do you lay down and fall asleep in the first position you lay down in? No, you like move around, you fluff up your pillows. Don't expect your baby to just like lay down where you lay them and pass out and not like move around or make any noises. A quick note, because I know whenever like sleep training is mentioned, there are a lot of opinions. This is why it's so hard to film videos with you. This is why it's so hard to film videos with you. But here's the thing, your baby, you can do whatever you want. Like, no one is forcing you to do anything. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, just don't do it. Do whatever feels right for you and your family. And there are endless methods to do this. So if it's something you're interested in, there is, I guarantee, a method out there that you're comfortable with, and it can be a very gentle one or it can be a little harsher one. And a crying baby is hard to listen to. It is so hard. You just want to go in there and scoop them up and make them feel better. Like, whenever your baby is crying anywhere for any reason, you just want to make them feel better. Within the first few weeks of having Theo, taking care of babies was shared with me, and like, that was a game changer. Sleep course I knew I wanted to go with when it was time for sleep training, because like, she hadn't failed us yet. I like her background, the science and the facts behind her method, and I just, yeah, really enjoyed her approach. So like 2 weeks shy of him being 6 months, we got the ABCs of sleep course. And I cannot recommend enough. I know it is expensive. It's like $180, and it goes up from there whether you want phone consultations or not. And like, that's a big chunk of change, I know, but it's so worth it. And the foundation I had set up thanks to her, even with like the not so great things during months like 3, 4, and 5, I have to believe that made the like sleep training easier. So it was maybe like 2 hard nights of sleep training. The first night, total throughout the night, he cried for like 1 hour and 20 minutes. The second night, total throughout the night, he cried for less than an hour. Went way down from there. He was weaned from his night feedings by night 5, and he now sleeps from like around 7 p.m. to around 6 to 7 a.m. That's 12 hours. So just think about going from, 2 hours of sleep, if you were lucky, to 12 hours. Like, what do you do with that much time? It is glorious. So in conclusion, good sleep habits can be built from the beginning. You hear sleep training, but it's just helping your baby learn good sleep habits. Don't jump on your baby every time they make a noise. When they are napping, when they're sleeping, give them 30 seconds. Give them a couple minutes. If I would have like picked him up every time he made a noise, I would have woken him up so many times. Learn about awake windows and what's appropriate for your baby's age. You're going to hear "put your baby down, drowsy but awake" so many times, and you're going to want to punch the person that said this, because you're going to think, I've tried that and they immediately wake up. Like, that's impossible. Like, I was one of those people, I was like, I don't understand how you're supposed to do this. It takes so much work, and they're for such a long time, they are going to wake up right as soon as you put them down. But to be able to put them down drowsy and have them finish putting themselves to sleep is going to be so beneficial in the long run. Kara goes over that in her newborn course. It's okay to teach your baby to sleep. That's my opinion. I know everyone has a different sort of opinion. You can find a method that you're comfortable with. Commit to it. You and your baby are going to be in such a better place because of it. I just feel so much better now, mentally and physically, that he's sleeping through the night. Sleep is so important for babies. Me and little Munchkin Butt are gonna go hang out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hang in there, you've got this. It's hard in those first couple months. It's obviously very worth it. All right guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.